Welcome to Epic Elite Gianthold Tor. I picked this video to do because there is so much delicious loot in here, and I wanted to show that with a Warlock you can solo this on Epic Elite. It's actually very easy even to do the dragons. That's where the great loot is. And I've noticed that the loot from here and from a lot of the Gianthold quests is not as common as it used to be in the auction house and shard exchange. When this came out, and for many, many months, it was more plentiful. But now that there's a lot newer stuff, people aren't running this as much, and so there's not as much of this kind of gear available in the auction house and shard exchange. So, it's good to know that you can farm this on your own. So standing at my hit points are baffling me this last hour or so. So I'm standing at 2032, which is exactly where it's supposed to be. But for the last 20 minutes, I've been trying to figure out why my hit points were not where they were supposed to be. It was at like 1940, and I couldn't figure it out. Logged back in, then it was at 2011, and I couldn't figure it out. And now I step in, and it's 2032. I have no freaking clue, but that's where it's supposed to be. That is where it is supposed to be. Okay, so I just got done running 625 Night Rebels challenges, and so my brain is like mush. It's all I've been doing for the last week. I got 4 epic past lives out of it, and I'm saying 625 because I looked at everything I got from it and then calculated based on the ingredients necessary to get everything that I got and determined that it was 625 runs. So I probably shouldn't admit that because it's pretty freaking embarrassing. It just makes me look ridiculous. But anyways, that's what I've been doing for the last week. I'm back to cap. As I mentioned in the last video, I've got 3 colors of the queen. I get 2 brace. So I'm about halfway to epic completionist. Should be pretty cool. Have I made any changes? A little bit. So as I mentioned before, I get rid of displacement here and decided to spend those 2 points on beacon. This is giving me plus 20 heal amp. And I decided to swap out haste for just the spell displacement. Instead of getting it as an SLA, I'm using the spell version. I don't need haste as a capped warlock. I just don't feel like I need it. I have gear that gives me speed, so I want the heal amp, because that is going to help me accomplish my goal of tanking the red dragons in EE Fire on Thunder Peak through the big buff. I can get up to 4,000 hit points total with my temporary hit points right now. But even with that, I am skeptical if I'm really going to be able to do it reliably. I've already done some testing. I said before I don't want to give away too much. Let's just say I've had mixed results, and so I'm still trying some things. I still feel that my goal is within reach, though. I'm really hoping to produce a video where I tank them toe-to-toe, don't die through the whole EE raid, but we'll see. But I'm getting really close to that. So one other change here, I mentioned in my last video that I did pick up consume, and so I took away a few points from the inherent racial line, and I said that I was going to give you some feedback as to whether or not I thought dabbling in it would be worthwhile, and I'm on the fence about it. Triple stack, it's ticking for like 300-ish, and then 600-ish on a crit, maybe 600 to 700-ish on a crit. So, those numbers at endgame are just, I don't know. They're certainly not impressive. So whether or not you want to sort of dabble in that, it gives you something to throw in between your bursts. If you got nothing else to do with 3 action points, I say go for it. But for me, I'm probably just going to ditch it and go back to get the extra point of charisma and the extra 2 points of spell resistance. And I also took another look at the racial enhancement line, and I saw this dark fire, and I remember trying it years ago, and I wanted to try it again, and I was pretty happy with the damage it was doing. I was getting like doing 1,000 to 1,500 damage with that. But then I realized this is using action boosts, so you only get 6 per rest. So screw that, not even worth it. But it was pretty cool. Totally not worth it though. So I've spent some time on my gear, getting everything slotted up the way that I wanted to, getting all the bases covered. I didn't recraft my goggles. I'm not even going to bother because Epic Green Steel's coming out in like, 5-6 weeks. So recrafting the goggles would only be about correcting the mistake of getting +6 charisma skills on tier 3 in order to get me closer to no fail intimidate. And so it's just not a priority for me right now. But let's see what I've got going on here. Epic Scales of Surety. There is a path, by the way, as I mentioned before. There is a path to no fail intimidate. I'm just not making that a priority right now. It's high enough for most of what I want to do. Slotted up with Sapphire False Life 40, Sonic Resistance 40. Got Epic Ethereal Bracers slotted up with Good Luck 2, Natural Armor 8. Got the Circle of Malevolence slotted up with Sapphire Protection +8, Globe of True Imperial Blood. Boots of Blessed Travels, here's where I got the speed, so don't really feel like I need haste. Haste would just be like a sliver faster. +1 dodge, +1 AC, or something like that. Marginal benefit, so get rid of haste. Concentration 13, Dex plus Insightful Dex 2. Gauntlets of the Arcane Soldier out of DOJ, Defiler of the Just. Topaz of Blindness Immunity, Diamond of Strength +8. Lantern Ring, Perform 15, Golem's Heart. Mineral 2 Belt, lots of hit points. Countenance, Greater Evocation and Conjuration, this also out of Defiler. Epic Litany of the Dead out of Mark of Death, Insightful Charisma 2, Topaz of Power 250. Resonation, Draconic Soul Gem, that's new, Diamond of Intelligence 8. Sightless, also out of Defiler, Sapphire Crushing Waveguard, Topaz of Proof Against Poison +10, just because to put something in there. And then the Goggles of Smoke, which I messed up, but it's got exceptional intelligence skills, which adds to spellcraft, so extra spell power. Thunderforged, I've got the Meridian Fragment in there. This is just tier 2. I was close to getting tier 3. I was only a few shadow Phlogistons away, and then I realized for Sonic lore I need fire Phlogistons, and I didn't have very many of those. So I was thinking about just going to do the 17% universal and then replace it when I get the fires, but I don't really want to waste 30 shadow Phlogistons just to use something temporarily. So I'm just going to wait until I get the fire. It's going to be a few weeks, but I'm just going to keep using the tier 2 for now. +6 Conjuration Focus, showed this before, plus 150 Sonic Spell Power. Got the Skyvault Shield changed in terms of the augments. I've got Impulse and Devotion 138 there now, and Spooky Intelligence +2 to help out Spellcraft. Now, I've been farming the heck out of EE Tor because I wanted to get a second Skyvault, as I talked about before, so I can have an epic leveling version and an endgame version slotted up with different things. But I've decided today that I just want to get the epic hard version so I can use it at 24, whereas the epic elite version is 25. So I'm going to have an epic hard version, epic reincarnate, and epic level with. But I am doing this video on EE just to show you that you can do it on epic elite. Let's get the fun started. I do have Tensors loaded up. I don't like to use it a lot because it does slow down the cooldown time, doubles the cooldown time of spells. like you know, tentacles. But if I'm tanking like a raid boss, then I will use it. You know, I'm finding for regular questing, I rarely even use Shining Through. The temporary hit points that I'm getting from, you know, just my aura and the spells that I cast. Remember, I get, you know, every time I cast a spell, I get temporary hit points too from that Tainted Scholar Feigned Health, I think it's called. And so it's, most of the time I'm just cruising along and not even have to worry about maintenance healing. But I will occasionally throw the renewal and cocoon, and just for like really everything. Everything other than an endgame epic elite raid boss tanking, you know, I'm good to go. I mean, I have an easier time with these epic elite quests, soloing them, than I do with Ginger. And I remember when I first started getting to epic levels, started getting into mid-epic levels, I was a little bit concerned. But, you know, even with these modest pass lives that I have, it's no problem. So let's see, let me show you these temporary hit points, because I'm pretty impressed with them. So I got, right now I'm twisting in Primal Scream. And, you know, I've got a twist that I'm just, you know, I'm set on Empyrean Magic, I'm set on Cocoon, but that middle twist, I just don't know what I want to do with. And I can get it up to tier 4. You know, I've got the points to do that. But let's see. Okay, we'll do Primal Scream. Okay, and then we'll do Shining Through, Stanch, 339. I had it over 4,000. I guess it's just because they're hitting me or something. Oh, I gotta get the Yugo pot going there. And the tensors. So let's try that again. There we are. 40. I just saw it over 4,100. So that's the kind of hit points that I need to see to feel comfortable to accomplish my goal. Because I don't have a good form of emergency healing. You know, you've got your Stanch, you've got your Shining Through, but they're on such a long cooldown. It's not like when I have the heal spell on Ginger and I can throw that every few seconds. But I will say that, you know, I can go toe-to-toe. You know, I've already done the raid quite a few times. Going toe-to-toe with the dragons, you know, before they get the big buffs, no problem. I can sit there all day long. Even when they get the 300% artifact rage, no problem. But when they get that 400% artifact overdraw, I mean, damn, that's really, really pushing the limits of this build. Oops, I must have got dispelled because I just lost levels. Had a few people already say that they're following the build, which I think is really cool. You know, I mean, I've only You know, right now, as of right now, today I just put up the solo Reaver's fate rate, and you know, it's really cool that people are following along and trying out the build and asking questions about it. Don't need to bother with the shrine. Looks like I have been dispelled though, so let's go ahead and rebuff. And now that we're just still without any mobs, let's go ahead and take a look at what those temporary hit points look like. Totally maxed out. So I'm healed up now. And what's with this 1915? Oh, okay, I'm not healed up. Okay, why does it say 1915 for max? See, my max hit points for some reason are just unstable. I don't know what the hell's going on. All my gear's on. What the fuck? Oh, because I've stanched. Of course, I have 2 stacks of stanch on me, so I should have rested to lose those stacks of stanch. The only way to lose them, I think, is resting. I don't even think death gets rid of them. It's kind of garbagey. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think death does not lose them. So, medium armor now. I lost the 3060 DR off the Shadow Dragon Plate, which I was really bummed about. I don't have any DR right now. None. But everything feels okay. I mean, you know, several videos ago I was talking about how that one of the differences between Voodu and Ginger is that Ginger could go up against, you know, half the dungeon at the same time and just be surrounded by mobs, epic elite, and just be beat on, you know, and it was no problem. And I didn't feel like I could do that with this tune. Well, I pretty much feel like I can now. So let's see. I'm gonna get a bunch of giants together here. And I realize that, you know, this is a little bit lower quest. You know, this isn't, I could be doing something with harder hitting mobs. But these, you know, these mobs, if you're not prepared for this level of play, these mobs can tear you up. So it's not like we're playing patty cake here. I'm just going to stand here and do nothing. See what happens. Suck it, giants. That's what happens. So I'm taking some hits, and they're just dying because of my aura. Yep, that looks like Voodu 1, Giants 0. So, you know, I mentioned that consume. Is it consume? I always get consume and, yeah, consume and stricken mixed up. So I mentioned consume sort of gives you something to do between bursts, and that's, you know, that I feel like I want something to do there. I wish I had like some damaging spells or something to throw, and so I want something to throw there. And consume for me just isn't cutting it. Obviously I can swing my weapon. That's not very exciting. For me anyways. But remember, or maybe you didn't know, if you're just following along and you haven't played Warlock yet, your enlightened spirit adds damage to your melee attacks with this spiritual retribution. So you get light spell power that scales, 3d6 light damage that scales with spell power added to your blast, melee, and ranged attacks. So let's see. Not that I'm trying to say that my melee attacks are going to be impressive, but I just want to show you the numbers that I'm going to be getting here. Let's turn off the aura. I think it's like 100 per hit. You know, that's hard to see. Yeah, base damage is just under 100, almost 200 with the crit, but then there's the light damage on there. Looks like it's 50 to, you know, sub 50 to 80-ish, 40 to 80-ish. So total, you know, 100, minimum 100 per swing, maybe about 250 on crits. That's alright. You know, you're doing a little bit of damage swinging your weapon there. But it's not exciting. Like I said, I'd like there to be spells, you know, with Ginger. You know, I've got tons of spells to sling. Let's turn the aura back on. I've just moved my hotkey for tensors, so I keep casting it by mistake. I've put it in the place that I had haste before. So I keep hitting it instinctively because I'm used to like throwing haste and displacement at the same time. So, you know, with the crowd control, don't really need it so much in here, but that's the, you know, Sleet Storm's cool. I love me some Sleet Storm. Got the tentacles. Got the confusion. It's actually Bewildering Blast. I shouldn't call it confusion because that's easy to mix up with this, which is called confusion. I never use it. That's like you target the mob with that, and I don't even bother. Seems really lame. But the Bewitching Blast is what gives you the % chance to confuse any mob. You see the confusion over his head, the pink circle. So I'll mention again my guildie Elbion. I want to give her credit. Had a strategy she really liked for doing like EE Temple of Elemental Evil, and that was to, you know, with the Bewitching Blast, to go in there and surround a bunch of mobs, you know, hit that a few times, confuse, you know, a bunch of mobs, and then hit Diplomacy so that it gets all the aggro off of her. And then they just start fighting each other, which I thought was really clever. So I don't have displacement on right now. I'm going to leave that off just for demonstrative purposes. So even without displacement, there's no emergency. Obviously good to run with, but still ballin' without it. I'm going to show you Consume on the boss here, Ignos. I'm going to show you the damage that it's doing. Now, I do want to emphasize that if you are running a Soul Eater, Consume is awesome. It does really awesome damage. But my point here is, you know, is it worth dabbling in it? If you're doing one of the other trees and you don't have, you know, that stricken line or whatever it is that amps it up. There's a bunch of crap in the tree that amps it up. If you don't have all that, you know, is it worth just dabbling in it, spending the 3 points to get it? And that's why I'm saying my conclusion is, you know, I can go either way. Alright, I'm going to turn off the aura so that all you're going to see is the consume. So that's 1 stack. Two stacks. It's hard to see the numbers on him because they're like appearing in his groin. Ah, that's so lame. Alright, I'm gonna have to do it on a dragon or something, because this is not a good demonstration. You know, now that I think about it, with my hit points earlier being wonky, I think I was testing with stanch and I probably had that still on my buff bar, and that's why it was lower than expected before I started the quest. One of the clever uses for chain shape, I may have mentioned this earlier in the series. In case I didn't, worth mentioning again is if you get a mob stuck in the wall, you can, and there are other mobs around, you can hit the other mobs with the chain shape, and the way that it ricochets should hit the mob in the wall. There's completion. Now let's do the dragons. These continents just keep respawning, so I'm not even gonna bother. I almost did this video last night, and I wish I had done it, because the Night Rebels Festival is still going on, so the champions still had the pumpkin heads above them, and the giants had just these enormous pumpkins above their head, and it was really funny looking. I was just a little tired, and I was like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, and I didn't really think about that. I should have captured that moment. Oh well. I had a comment today on the Reaver's Fate solo heroic raid, and you know, somebody's just saying that, you know, like, I can't, they said, I can't believe you can solo this, you know, and one of my hopes with the videos that I do is to show that, you know, you can do that too. You know, I know that there's a lot of people out there that, you know, maybe you don't like raiding, or maybe, you know, Epic Elite is scary to you. You know, what I really want, one of the messages that I want to convey is that, you know, you can do this. It doesn't require exploiting. It doesn't require, you know, optimum builds. It doesn't require, you know, using the latest and greatest synergy bonus. You know, I do know that, like, my builds aren't the fastest in the world. There are power gamer builds that are just doing ridiculous DPS, and I get that. But you know, with the druid, with the warlock that has modest past lives, like, you can do this stuff. And you know, if you learn how to solo this, and you learn to farm it pretty quick, which you can do, you can make yourself a rich toon, because you can get the loot out of here, and the loot drops pretty well. Like, I feel like when I do all 3 dragons, I get at least 1 piece of named loot, and some of this stuff sells really well. You can post this stuff on the shard exchange and start, you know, if you did this every day, you could start pulling in at least a couple hundred shards a week. So I'm going to go in here, and with all the dragons, I'm not going to use any special gear. I'm not going to be using like energy sheath or any kind of absorption gear, other than just, you know, my standard stuff. I do have a little bit of absorption with my ship buffs. You know, I think it's 15% for all elements. And you know, I do have some resists, and I'll just show you quickly what those are, so they're nothing off the charts. This is all perfectly reasonable stuff. And the MRR helps too. Now, it used to be the case that, you know, if you were in here a little bit too long, the electrical damage started to get really overwhelming, but it hasn't been a problem for me, even without electrical absorption gear. The air elementals are a little annoying, but the bursts take care of them pretty well. Now, you probably know, you've probably done this quest before, but here you have to kill the giant and the dragon at the same time, or at least you got about maybe a 10-second window. we're getting a little bit ahead on the dragon, so we'll just range down the giant, no problem. And I'm just moving, not because I'm afraid of the dragon, but because I don't want to hit the dragon. One of my build goals with this tune and with Ginger, I've talked about before, I don't want to be afraid of mobs. I don't want to run away from mobs. I don't want to have to hide in safe spots. I don't want to have to, you know, worry if it's a red dungeon alert and I got half the dungeon chasing me. No problem. That's one of my goals. There goes the dragon. And there goes the giant piece of cake. And you can see, this was not stressful at all. This was not resource intensive. It was not difficult. Nothing. Now, if only I could do like party healing on this tune, Warlock would be like my favorite. That's gonna be the one thing, and that's for me. For most people, I don't care about being able to heal others, but you know, I've talked before about how, you know, I'm leading raids for my guild. I want to be able to perform that role, especially considering that so many other people don't want to fill that role. So that's, you know, why I love Druid so much, because I can do all those different roles, all the different things I like to do. Here, you know, it's almost there. I mean, I can help out a little bit with healing, though. You know, I've got Cocoon, I've got Renewal, but, you know, that stuff isn't strong enough to be a primary healer. At least not in, you know, we're doing EE Mark of Death or something like that. If we're just doing Epic Normal, sure. I think this is going to be episode 19. So that means, and I just posted episode 8 today. 11 ahead of the game. I've got to remember to show you consume because I really want to get rid of it. I don't want to have to save it. Keep using it until next video. Like I said, I'm gonna get rid of it just because I'd rather have the charisma and the little bit better defense. It's not adding enough value to me. I don't mean to poo-poo on it. Like I said, you know, if you have a few extra action points, it's a great place to put it if you want to. And that is doing chaotic damage, and since that's alignment damage, that is affected by radiance. So you're already covered with spell power. You don't need anything new there. In a recent video, I talked about how I picked up, is it Waves of Exhaustion? Because my idea was that, you know, against tougher mobs, I could hit them with that, and it would lower their effective save against tentacles. But I haven't really been using it. I didn't really feel like I needed it. Okay, let's do the maximum hit point here. See what we can get to. So we'll throw the primal. Make sure we got the Yugo pot. Shining Through, Stanch, 4113. That's pretty sweet for a Drought Warlock. pure Warlock at that. Oh, I didn't even have tensors on. Shoot. All right, we're gonna have to do this again before the next dragon. Okay, I'm gonna show you consume now. I'm gonna triple stack it up on the giant. Now, if you didn't know, if you shield block, it will block the giant's like blast ability where he knocks you away. Okay, I'm having the same problem here. Let me do it on the dragon. Maybe I can see dragon numbers. Gonna turn the aura off. So single stacked, it was like 100 and 200 on a crit. Now it's double stacked. Oh, it just hit for 538, 200. So now it's triple stacked. 266, 299, Couldn't see that number. Get out of my way, giant. 681. So, you know, like, it's not terrible. It just doesn't excite me that much. It doesn't excite me enough to want to keep it. So I know what you're thinking, a point of charisma and 2 more points of spell resistance. That's not very exciting either. You're right. 6 a dozen of one, half dozen of another. So you want to shield block and then time your burst. There's the blast. He just did it, and you know you can throw your blast after your burst after he does that. You can see I don't have displacement on. No problem. This one's a little tricky because the giant heals himself. So now we're going to switch to the blast and get him down a little bit. Again, I'm just moving around because I want to make sure I'm not hitting the dragon. So they're both the same. Wasn't shield blocking. Uh-oh. There goes the giant. And goodbye, dragon. No sweat, ace. Oh yeah, look at that bad boy. Insightful Con 3. Nice! Okay, let's try for this max hit point thing again. Tensors. Still got the Yugo pot going. Primal Scream. Shining Through. Stanch is on timer. Stanch 4103. What? See, I'm forgetting something again. Oops. I didn't have tensors on. 4189. $41.47, so not much of a difference with tensors. So you're thinking you saved white till the last because it's the toughest, right? Not so fast. I've always thought blue was the toughest, but a lot of people do feel like that the white one is the toughest because of the freezing and the sliding around. I've got freedom of movement on my boots, so I won't lose freedom of movement, which is really nice in there. Because even when you have the spell, it's constantly getting dispelled. And what's really cool, with the aura, even when I get frozen, no problem. Because I can just sit there and let that dragon beat on me. I will say that it's probably a little bit more efficient to kite him around and use your blasts instead of burst. Because the dragon, or the giant moves around so much, he's kind of a pain in the butt. So it's just easier, you know, if when he's moving, to just blast him, and that way it, you know, sort of follows him. As opposed with the burst, then you gotta chase him down. Do you ever notice how there's always the giant orcs or the giant gnolls that appear at certain spots here? See if I can point one out. Is that one of the giant gnolls there? No. Oh, there's the giant orc. See? Look how much bigger he is than the other orc. Like, what's up with that? It's ridiculous. And it's only here that I see that happen, so it's some sort of, I think it's some sort of just display bug. I've also noticed another display bug too, that when I get around a mob that has displacement on, that sort of like makes my displacement aura get even brighter. Oh, there's a giant gnoll. Where's another gnoll to compare him to? See, there's a Windlasher runner there, and there's one there, and you can see the one on the right's way bigger than the one on the left. And they're both the same mob. So it's not like it's a different variety of it. But I've only ever noticed the giant gnolls and orcs in this quest. So going with the con build, I don't have a 100% chance of using deadly weapon scrolls, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, it's a frickin' 60 UMD, so it's not like, you know, I mean, come on now, that's really high. Oh, one of the things is also I can mention too is that I changed my build points a little bit. I'm experimenting with, you know, how I want to roll there, and I think I did a 14 intelligence this time, and with a 14 intelligence, I wasn't able to quite max out perform. Like, I was just shy a little bit of skill points. Let me look at that. But with like a 16 intelligence, I had too many skill points. Like, I was able to pretty much max out like UMD in addition to everything else that I wanted. But with 14, yeah, I could only get 8 points instead of max would be 11, because that's a cross-class skill, so 11's the highest you can get. And then with UMD, I put 5 points in there. So I guess I could have just put 2 points in UMD and then maxed out perform. I've got a 165% chance of using Scrolls of Resurrection. That's really the important part for me for UMD. What did I forget a rune? Yes, I did. So, where to put the extra point? If I go 14 intelligence, I know there's some people screaming, no, you gotta go max intelligence because it's spell power. I don't care about one spell power. But where to put the extra point? 16 con, for sure. At least 18 charisma. Maybe I'll try to squeeze an extra charisma out of there or something. We'll see. Maybe put it in Dex to get higher. One more AC, and actually I don't think I'd get another AC. I think I would just get one more save. I'm capped on AC bonus to armor class. Yeah, max Dex bonus of 4. Oh, speaking of that, I did slot up an armor of, a sapphire of, I think it's called armor agility, and I was hoping that would increase my max Dex bonus by 2, which, you know, it does, but it does not affect if you're using a tower shield. So I unslotted it, you know, so I got the tower shield going. But ordinarily, for, you know, if I guess for an AC build that doesn't use a tower shield, that's a nice augment to have. It also increases your maximum dodge bonus. Wake up, sleepyhead. So I'm going to start this by just bursting and letting the dragon freeze me up, just to show you that not a problem. Oh no, I'm helpless. What am I gonna do? He's gonna kill me. Ah! No sweat. Look at that. Ballin'. Other tunes that happens are like, oh my god, heal me. I'm gonna die. Ah, the world's coming to an end. Piece of cake. Okay. But I don't want to spend half my life being frozen, so I'm going to go ahead and range them because it's easier. And we're going to start. This is one of the situations where I like to use chain because I can hit them both. And then once they start getting down a little bit further, if they're uneven, I'll switch to focus blast. And yes, I am keeping moving so that I don't get frozen. I just wanted to show you that being frozen wasn't the end of the world. So if you're doing this in a group, and they're a little bit slower, you know, you can tank the dragon, get him out of people's hair. It's really easy to go up against the giant. He doesn't do a whole lot. He's kind of dumb. focusing on the dragon now. It's a little scarier when you get frozen like this because you don't have your aura on. So now, you know, like this could be the end of the world, but luckily it's not. Back to the chain gang. Sometimes I like to just take it slow, like just sit here with the aura on and let it tick down just to make sure. Because when you kill out of order, well, with the Warlock, not a big deal. Because you could do massive amounts of damage. But if I'm in here in Ginger and I kill out of order, especially in here, because they're not affected by cold damage, I don't want to have to spend time beating them down again, because it takes me a long time in here in Ginger because I have to use fire spells. My fire spells aren't that strong. Okay, what kind of goodies we get? Intricate field optics, ballin'. Damn, my guildie was looking for charisma 3. Oh well. See, I got 2 named items. What'd I tell you? Like, the drop rate's pretty good. It may not be the ones you want, but like both of these, Dragon Helm, Intricate Field Optics, like these can go on the Shard Exchange, and I'm gonna make some money, and you can too. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you have questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube. I love hearing from you guys. I have a lot of fun reading the comments and responding to those. And if you have questions about the build I'm doing, you can respond in the DDO forums and the Warlock forum. And if you happen to be on Saralona, you are welcome to send me a tell.